All right, good morning, class. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Today is Monday, March 23, 2020. Here is the plan for today. So first, what I would like to do is briefly introduce kind of the next / first unit we'll have in this course. Current events is a little different in the sense that things can change quickly, and I try to be flexible depending on what events are going on. But our first unit is going to focus on this idea of responsible news. After that, what I'm going to ask you to do is leave some comments on each other's coronavirus quick writes that you did last week. And then the last thing you'll do today is a peer review, a peer evaluation of one of your classmates' videos from the presentation you recorded and should have turned in last week. All of these things will be due today, 3 p.m. I don't think anyone will take a particularly long time. The longest one will probably be the peer evaluation, but I don't think it's asking too much to get all these things done before 3 p.m. today. So first, let me introduce what this unit is all about. This unit is called Responsible News. It talks about basically where do we get our information, how do we get information, how much do we trust the media, what are some kind of practical tips and advice we have to navigate all the news that you have access to today. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at this idea of responsible news through kind of a prism or lens of what's going on in the world right now with this coronavirus. So we'll be learning about the coronavirus as well, but we'll be looking at it through this idea of responsible news. First thing I need you to do, just as an introduction, is I'm posting this question at the top: how/where do you get your news from? List as many ways, places that apply to you. I just want you to focus on the main avenues, the main sources of information that you have, just to figure out what's going on in the world. It doesn't have to be news that's political. It could be just basic news about entertainment or sports or whatever. Where do you get information from? Give me as many main sources as you have, whether that's 1 or 5. Just tell me what they are. Don't explain anything about them. Just list them. That shouldn't take you long. Put that on Google Classroom, please. For this unit, there are 3 main essential questions. The first 2 will stay the same throughout this course. First, what value is there in studying local, national, and global current events and issues? I think with this whole virus going on right now, that's a little self-explanatory, but for this unit, what's the value in studying an issue like fake news, biased news, etc.? Second is, how do we respond to current events and issues considering God's calling for us to be the light, salt, and aroma of Christ and active redemptive agents for the Lord's kingdom? Right, so that sounds complicated and fancy. Basically, for a Christian, what does responsible news look like? How does it look different than someone who's not? And I understand that out of the 26 of you in this class, that not every single person is going to be a Christian and that we're all at various walks of life. But I do want you to really consider, what does responsible news look like for you if you're trying to pursue a life that honors Christ. Then the last one is specific for just this unit. But in 2020, you have access to basically limitless information, whether that's through TV, your phone, your Chromebook, pretty much anywhere you can find information about anything. So we have this digital sea, so to speak, of information. How do we navigate that to get information and news that's both reliable and accurate? So that's kind of taking the question above it and narrowing it down a little bit more specifically for this unit. So answer that question. This is what we'll be talking about for the next, maybe 2 or so weeks. Responsible news. By the way, forgot, going back, there's going to be a link on this question that talks about this idea of fake news and how it applies to teenagers, people your age. I don't need you to do anything with that article, but I'd quick skim it just to kind of get a glimpse of why I'm making this unit a priority for us. Okay, so once you've answered that question, you've skimmed that article, the second thing I need you to do, shouldn't take you very long, is choose 2 or 3 of your classmates. I am hoping that by the end of this, every single person who's turned in a response will have a reply to their response, at least 1 reply per student. But I need you to respond to their post from last week. Are we, United States Media Society, overreacting to this coronavirus pandemic? Why or why not? I would encourage you to find at least one post that maybe you at least somewhat disagree with. And I don't say that because I want you to chew them out or be really mean or inappropriate about why or how you disagree. I just want you to look at something from a different point of view and then provide your perspective to the situation so they have your point of view as well. Just to create a more well-rounded and balanced approach towards forming opinions on things like this. So leave 2-3 replies for your classmates. I am hoping that your replies will be thoughtful, they'll be appropriate, and that they won't be conversation stoppers but conversation sparkers. Further thought, consideration, and conversation. What I mean by that is I don't want you to post good job or that's neat or I disagree. Like, that's not encouraging any further thought or consideration or conversation at all. I want you to post something like asking a question or providing a counterpoint, or maybe asking them, could you explain this further, or have you ever considered this? Something that encourages the person to think a little bit more and keep the conversation going, so to speak. You don't literally have to respond to their reply. Hopefully you can at least think about it. Once again, kind of keep things moving forward, not be a conversation stopper. So 2 or 3 students, I don't want you to do any more, so stick to 2 or 3. Do 3 p.m. today. Don't be afraid to respond to people who maybe you don't know super well. That's hopefully one way we can build a little bit of class community, which is tough because 1, we've got 26 students, 2, we've got students from all different grades and backgrounds, and 3, we're not in the same place every day. Then the last thing, once you're done with the intro part, the response, replies part to that quick write, the last thing I need you to do is on Google Classroom, I have posted this presentation peer review from the presentations you recorded and turned in last week. That post has 2 documents attached to it. The first one is a list of all the assignments you will be assigned to evaluate one of your classmates. I've already chosen who that is going to be. And on that Google Doc, I have put a link to both that student's presentation and to their video recording. What you need to do is watch their video recording and then complete the Google Form evaluation form. This is worth 5 points. It's just a classwork grade. You will be asked to answer 6 questions. The first one is just telling me who you're evaluating. I need you to put, once again, thoughtful, appropriate, and then very clear responses to that. I think some students, when you do activities like this, they just think, oh, this is a participation completion grade. All I need to do is just fill it out and I'll be good to go 5 out of 5. But I don't see any real level of thought and effort, and a meaningful effort just to do your best to actually provide an evaluation that's honest, that's thoughtful. You're not getting 5 points. So make sure, once again, that your responses are thoughtful, appropriate, and clear, which means you should be watching the video carefully, so you're paying attention to what you think they're doing very well versus things that maybe they could do a little bit better, as well as your own personal opinion on the subject, since you'll be evaluating a topic that was different than the one you presented. Once again, that is due today, 3 p.m. So that's all the work I have for you today. We will continue talking about responsible news throughout the rest of this week. As always, be checking PowerSchool, check Google Classroom for the comments that I'm leaving, whether it's on the document itself or as a private comment through Google Classroom. If you have questions or anything, once again, please reach out. Last thing I will end with, I just want to encourage you guys, and I'm telling this to all the classes I teach through these videos because it's what I've been doing the past few days, to really pray for 3 groups of people in our school community, which isn't to say they're the only 3 that need prayer, but I think it's 3 that have been standing out to me over the past week. The first one is the seniors we have. This obviously isn't part of what you envisioned your last trimester of high school would be. I'm sure some of you maybe are bothered by this more than others, but the idea that you don't get to be with your friends at school every day, the idea that people are missing sports. Luckily we've had a musical, but there's band and concert performances that are being canceled. Things like prom, graduation ceremony, open houses are all up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm sorry that this isn't the way you probably planned things, so I would ask everybody, not just the seniors, just to pray for them, have some peace of mind, because it's really hard sometimes to accept plans when they're not your plans but something different. We just got to trust that God's plan will triumph, and it's always good. Second group would be our school administration, Dr. Taylor, Pastor Greer, Mr. Gruppen, our school board. They've got a lot of high-pressure decisions to make. They've got to look at this mass amount of information that's coming in constantly and figure out what's the best for you students and for us as a school. That's not easy to do, and a lot of decisions that they're going to have to make are somewhat out of their hands depending on what state and local and national governments tell them to do. Just pray that they'll have God's guidance and wisdom in this time. We all need that, but I think it's especially true for our administration as they seek the Lord's will and what's going on. But then I would say the last group to pray for would be our international students. I know two, Hugo and Marco, are both flew to Spain Sunday and Monday to go home, because if they didn't fly now, there was no guarantee they would be able to later, just with borders closing and whatnot. And Spain has more of a lockdown than we do because this virus is hitting them worse than it is in the United States so far. Just pray not just for our Spanish students, for Marco and Hugo, but our students from Vietnam, our students from South Africa, our students from Spain, our students from China. It's really difficult to be here when we're at home with our families. I can't fully imagine what it would look like to go through this when your family, your friends, and your home is somewhere far away and you don't entirely know what's going on because you're not there. So please keep our international students in your prayers as well as they go through this, and it's just a little bit different for them just based on where home is. So let me know if you have questions. I'll be continuing to pray for you guys. If you have any new or anything you want me to pray for specifically, don't be afraid to send it my way. I hope you have a good day.